Molly is a mother, a fighter, also a lover, whose influence extends beyond the mats. She empowers women to rise unapologetically in spaces where they've often been told to shrink. And her feminine-centered approach to life challenges traditional norms, inspiring women to step into their power, honor their cycle, and reclaim their magic. Now we have Sophie. Sophie is a purple belt and a competitor who loves applying her background in philosophy and cognitive psychology to how women can thrive and love the sport. By building a community based on proper ethics and understanding of human behavior, she believes we can carve out an empowered space for women to feel like they can step up and gain real joy out of martial arts without fear or anxiety. We've got Katy and Mills.
Hello.
Katy and Mills are co-founders of Her Fight Network, an organization designed to champion women in combat sports through creating safe spaces for women in the community and alleviating the financial burden of female athletes. Katy is a semi-pro active Muay Thai fighter and describes herself as a jiu-jitsu hobbyist, committed to increasing female participation in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and safeguarding from abuse within the community. Mills is a jiu-jitsu purple belt, gym owner, and feminist to her core, driven by her desire for female representation in jiu-jitsu and equal rights in the sport. She's been training across boxing, MMA, and jiu-jitsu for a decade and runs the Matrix Gym and jiu-jitsu team in Yanina, Greece. And now Chrissie describes herself also as a jiu-jitsu hobbyist and is represented by Common Ground. She's currently exploring the world of competition. Now we've got a series of questions. I kind of gave all of you a bit of a heads up. Whenever you want to answer, if you just want to kind of give a wave and we'll pass the phone around. No pressure if you want to pass. So the first question is, how did everyone here get into combat sports? Whether it was jiu-jitsu, other forms of striking or martial arts, what attracted you to it? And what do you think might be barriers preventing other women from joining?
I actually started jiu-jitsu, thank you, as it was actually recommended to me by a therapist as literally our last session. I'm a victim of domestic abuse, and so I had to get a therapist because, you know, you just can't cope with it on your own, guys. And then at the end, she said, I think you'd be really good at jiu-jitsu. And I was like, Gia, what? And she went, jiu-jitsu? And I was like, what's she on about? So, but funny enough, my gym, which is called Third Space, they do jiu-jitsu there. So about a week or two later, I went, okay, let me just try this out. So I sneaked out of work at lunchtime, went down to the Soho branch, and it couldn't have gone any better. I'm not really a touchy-feely kind of person when it comes to, you know, closeness, when it comes to sport. But straight away, I absolutely loved it. I would say because she recommended it, that's how I got into the sport. But if she never did, I would never know about jiu-jitsu. And you know about boxing, like women boxers and stuff, but you just don't see the coverage on TV or anywhere where you see someone doing jiu-jitsu, right? So, I mean, I'm glad that she recommended it to me, but I can see where there's a barrier there of ladies not knowing about it and realising that they can actually do it themselves. And, you know, it doesn't matter your ability or anything like that. And I actually think it should be taught in schools, 100%, from primary upwards.
Now, I think.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Awesome.
BJJ Federation, they announced it recently.
That's really cool.
That is brilliant. So yeah, that's my take on how I got into jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I'll go into mine. I think I was always drawn to strong female leads in films. They always looked really empowered and really badass. And then Ronda Rousey was out and about and in more mainstream media. And then I discovered what MMA was. And I was like, that looks so hard. Like, I'm going to do that. Like, she looks so strong and empowered. And I think I then fell down the martial arts rabbit hole, gave everything a try. And then, yeah, I really sunk my teeth into MMA before I had my little boy. And I think once you're in that lifestyle, it's really hard to do anything else and find anything else fulfilling because nothing else is quite as scary as getting in a cage and fighting someone. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
So I had actually quite a similar pattern in terms of like Chrissie's story. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I've always been into fitness and wellness and well-being. But I really struggled, I guess, to feel more empowered in myself and like feeling good in my body again and feeling good in who I was and feeling a bit more confident. And I remember thinking, you know, like lifting weights and going to the gym and going for runs is quite isolating, and it wasn't quite ticking that box that I was really seeking out. And this is going to sound really cheesy, but kind of similar to what Molly was like, I've seen girls that are really badass in films. There's a video game that is so precious to my heart called Final Fantasy VII. And there's a character in there she's called Tifa, and she's a martial artist. And I always admired the fact that, because I'm quite shy and introverted, that she was still quite shy and introverted and a really badass martial artist. And she essentially uses martial arts as a means of overcoming or helping her manage these horrible experiences. And I felt really inspired by that. And so I decided to just do some research and investigate. And I had so many good things about jiu-jitsu and how it helps women feel empowered and feel strong again. And yeah, I think like Molly said, you can't really get out of the lifestyle once you're in it, unfortunately. It sounds very cultish, but once you're in it for life, you're in it for life. And yeah, I haven't looked back.
Well, we're on the theme of, I guess, never leaving. I actually I got into martial arts when I was 10 because I was a freakishly small and quite odd child. So I was kind of like a bit of a target for bullying. So my dad was like, okay, yeah, I'll get her into Taekwondo. And my mum didn't think it was going to stick for more than like 10 minutes. And then, yeah, I ended up doing Taekwondo for 10 years, like fighting internationally. My dream at that point was to like get onto the Olympic team. And then COVID hit. My gym had to shut and it kind of didn't really reopen. So I'd always been like interested in like the UFC, a bit like, I think a lot of people's exposure to sort of jiu-jitsu or striking outside of boxing, which I just never really fancied. To this day, I don't enjoy boxing. I don't like getting hit in the head that much.
Do Muay Thai.
So I get elbowed so I get elbowed in the face instead. I still think that's better. I don't know, it's just less punches. So then I was like, okay, yeah, I went to a mixed martial arts gym and started doing all three at once. And then at some point, Muay Thai completely took over my life. But I have a real soft spot for jits. It's like, I think I'm going to be one of those like life white belts that just turns up to an open mat every now and again. And it's like, you've got your blue belt yet? It's like, no. But yeah, I can't imagine my life without martial arts. Like, anymore. Every day my dad begs me to stop doing Muay Thai or stop fighting. But it does just becomes like a part of you, I guess. Yeah.
So, similar to Molly, I got into it through the MMA route. And I think for my generation, I experienced seeing the whole London Olympics where there was like a lot of boxing, female boxers being represented. So that showed me, okay, women can fight. And then I saw the Ronda Rousey coming up and I was like, okay, women can fight. And for me, I struggled trying to find out where and how I could make it happen. And then there was this fad that, I don't know if it still exists actually. It was like 8 weeks and you can learn how to do X, Y, and Z. And you'll fight in a cage and it'll be proper, and it wasn't proper, but it was exhilarating.
Still a thing.
Yeah, it was mad exhilarating. I was like, I love this. And then I joined the cult of jiu-jitsu. I really did enjoy striking. I did actually stem off doing striking for a while, but jiu-jitsu's always had my heart. And now actually seeing it from a coach's perspective even, I love it even more. It's just such a beautiful sport. And absolutely obsessed. I don't see myself ever changing from it. You know that stereotype of, jiu-jitsu changed your life? It kind of does though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So that's my experience.
Great, thank you. So the news today announced that in the 100 top most paid sports athletes right now, there's not a single woman. So not from the Olympics, not from tennis, not even WNBA. So why do you think there is such a big pay gap for female athletes? And what are some of the ways we can grow women's involvement in this sport? Particularly, what successes have you maybe seen in your experience or lessons learned from similar initiatives?
I think the reason we're not getting paid as much as men are is because the guys are in charge 9 times out of 10. They don't see it as exciting for them because they see themselves as the audience when actually the audience is broader than just their own perspective. So frustratingly, we're trapped in that rut until female promoters come out, shows, women-only competitions. We just need to just keep going. We're right at the beginning of the change. I feel it in my bones. But we need every aspect, every corner of the community to just keep firing forward to make it happen. Otherwise, we might lose the opportunity. And more female, everyone on this panel that said about how they got into jiu-jitsu was through women's representation. So we just need so much more of that in every way.
I have something I think about a lot, and I don't necessarily know if I have the authority to necessarily break the whole issue down, so it is just my opinion, but I think the issue is kind of twofold, because the argument we hear all the time is it's about viewership. It doesn't have the eyes on it, so it doesn't attract the sponsors, it doesn't make as much money, so therefore it's not worth investing in and paying female athletes. And I think it's quite a bit of a straw man argument, because what often isn't considered, and I don't think this just exists in martial arts, I think this exists in like women's football, for example, which I'm not proclaiming to be an expert on, but where there's a lack of investment at kind of grassroots within women's sport as a whole, a lot of the time, female athletes right at the top of their game can't afford to quit their jobs. They're still maintaining full-time jobs, they're still looking after children, and then you're given the argument that, I'm going to use the football argument because everyone says women's football isn't as exciting as men's, which personally I don't agree with. I mean, I don't really watch football, but I also think the expectation for women's fighting to be as elite as men, any women's sport to be as elite as the men's is, when you quite literally do not have the hours to dedicate to it. And even then, it comes pretty close a lot of the time. A lot of women's fighting can, in my opinion, be more entertaining than some like heavyweight men's fighting that are really slow. I think there's this existing perception that it isn't as interesting, which then stops the investment in it. There's these huge barriers that for a lot of people, including myself, you have to choose between pursuing a successful, like financially successful career and pursuing your dream. And that is a choice that you have to make. You can't sort of have both, and that sort of cuts off so much talent or potential talent, because they have to choose between being financially stable and pursuing their fight career. That, yeah, I think that's quite a big issue.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's so many socio-cultural barriers already in place. Women are told you have to have it all. You have to be the mum. You have to be working at a certain time, especially now with cost of living. We don't have the flexibility as so much to maybe drop one thing or take another. And these expectations pile on, which as a result makes it less likely that women may enter competitions, because of course financially there is a literal material barrier there. And also I think psychologically there's an element of, well, you know, no one's in my category, or, you know, no one's at this comp, or there's no major women's team at this major competition. And it becomes a vicious cycle whereby if there's fewer women being put in these events, of course there's not going to be other women stepping up, because you're not going to have a match up. So you're not, why would you enter? So it's this vicious cycle. And then as you've correctly said, I think that the organisers, who again are mostly male, think, oh, well, you know, there's not much going on with the women's categories, we won't bother putting it on. But it's self-perpetuating. Yeah. If you don't have the means of setting up in the first place, women won't want to actually go forward and put themselves out there, win or loss. And I think being able to slowly break down those barriers, both from a material and a social plane, I think that's going to be key in getting more women involved.
Yeah, I think the biggest underlying problem is that our sport is male-dominated. So is our world, and that's why we experience so many barriers in everything that we do. And I think we can keep shouting from the rooftops, keep showing up, keep entering the competitions, keep making noise, but ultimately I think what will make the biggest difference is male allies within our sport that are fighting the same fight with us. I think that is probably the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. My experience of fighting, the financial barrier has been one of my biggest, especially with trying to feed a child, and then, you know, comp entrance fees, everything that comes with training, the whole lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing the change, because like I can feel it in my bones as well. I just really want the guys to step up for us now too, because the whole grassroots support thing, like you said, getting more girls in, getting more women just on the mats included in the sports, and having safe men to train with, and male promoters that are going to take the time to talk about women fighting, to fill the card with women, to go the extra mile to find the matches for women. I think that will make such a big difference. And it's, I think, a balance for all of us, trying to remain hopeful without forgetting about our rage.
Something Molly just said actually just made me think. I know we talk a lot about kind of women-only promotions, which I think both are necessary. I think you need the voice to elevate female grappling, and it needs to be this kind of collective movement, especially when you're talking about safety and fair treatment. At the moment, I kind of entrust the sort of few organisations that there are that are dedicated to women only. We're still at that point where we need that space because we won't be given that space on a lot of existing promotions. So there's such a need for that. However, if I'm looking like longer term into the future, I'm going to use an example from Muay Thai, but like there's a few Muay Thai promotions, only a couple that have a good number of female fights and well-matched, really entertaining female fights that maybe a male audience would never have actively gone out and looked for, but because they're put next to the men's fights that they've actually gone there to watch, they start almost becoming fans themselves. And it is about exposing, like I say, obviously my main passion is Muay Thai, which is why I'm going to speak from that perspective. But I think when you have a card that's as many exciting women's matches as it is exciting men's matches, and they're not just mismatched, lazy matchmaking, it starts to expose women's grappling to a much wider audience. And then that kind of viewership issue starts to go away because women's fights do sell tickets. Like they are exciting a lot of the time, but unless they're given a space and a proper platform where the promotion is equal to the men's, the payment is equal to the men's. Because if you're kind of flitting all over the place, but like I know we're all aware of like the ADCC Thailand situation. If that wasn't rectified through like the kind of collective campaigning of the community, then you're not going to attract the top female grappling talent. No. You might go on.
We seem to have reached a point in women in grappling, the evolution of women in grappling, where we've hit tokenism. So we are being offered token fights. We're being offered token things just to say they support women. But we're now, from what I've seen, and I hope it stays, and I hope it's not another form of tokenism, we're now starting to fill cards. I think Polaris is feeling the pressure because really, I love Polaris, but the past, God knows how many shows, has had just one women's fight. Why? There's plenty of women. So now they're doing a female squads. But I hope to God it's not another form of tokenism and then it's lost again for like the next 10 years. But UFC recently, the Invitational that we were talking about with Helen Craver, they had loads of female fighters on there. We're out there. It's just my worry is, sorry, the mic. My worry is that if we leave it up to the guys, then potentially it's just going to be slow, which is why I have felt, motivated to do what I do with Her Fight Network, because I want to be the representation that they're not offering, or they're only offering as a token. So I'm very much like a doer. Don't wait for others, do it yourselves. Also, don't focus on the numbers. Don't focus on the finance. It doesn't have to be something that's going to make you £1 million. As long as it pays for itself, you're doing a good deed. So women's competitions, or just general competitions, if you're paying the same as a guy, but you're only getting maybe one person in your bracket, if you're even lucky, why are you paying the same as the guys? I don't understand that. Stop being greedy. Like, it shouldn't be that way. And yeah, anyway, that's me. Thanks.
Just to add to
yeah,
that,
please.
Sorry, just to add to that, it makes no logical mathematical sense to say to a woman, yes, you have to pay the exact same as a male athlete who will probably have 5 or 6 rounds, 5 or 6 matches. You will get one if you're lucky. If not, we'll match you around. We'll find someone.
About 5 times already.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And you still have to pay 80 quid. It makes no economic sense. And they're there making the economic argument. But actually, if you were to be of a business mind, you would lower the price. And again, financial barriers is a real material thing. More women would, of course, step forward. You're going to fill those brackets up. More women will be paying your entry fee. You're going to be making more money anyway. I've never understood the business sense to it. And I'm not a business expert by any means of the imagination. So I'm probably missing something here. But logically, it just doesn't add up. Just adjust the prices, because it's a supply-demand thing.
Yeah, you'll make more money off of 8 women paying 40 quid than you will off 2 paying £80 and then putting out because it's not worth 80 quid. Yeah. It's not like there's a lack of women out there. Today's
I don't understand why businesses, grappling competitions, shows, anything like that, can't see the value in female fighters. We pay the same as everybody else. Give us what we're deserving. Give us what you're giving the guys. We're not asking for it feels like we're back in the suffragettes, asking for fucking votes. if we're paying it, it's fair. You're mugging us off otherwise. Surely there's some sort of trade and standards issue here. If they're getting 5 fights and I'm getting 1, you know.
Who's in HR?
Yeah, who do we speak to about this?
I think we're it.
I think we might be, Should we start a competition, ladies? Sorry, it's all right.
It's going to be long-winded, but it reflects something we put in the chat. So I just want everyone in their minds for a second to think about a minute of like camaraderie you found early on in your jiu-jitsu career and journey with other female fighters that maybe helped it click. Because we've been touching on the role of community and basically women building this community that men were not going to make space for. And something I'm thinking of is years ago, I went to the New York Open and there was a girl in my division who had brought a sports bra that had a zip. So the referee said to her, "You're not going to be able to compete." And I said, "I've got 2 sports bras. Do you want one?" And my coach was livid. He was like, "Why would you do that? That's one less person you have to fight against." So I said, "Because she's also done the brutal weight cut. It's $100 to compete. You don't understand what it's like to come to a competition and be told you can't compete because you're wearing the wrong underwear. Like that doesn't happen to you." But I've found this in other tournaments. I've never had a tournament where at least one person who kicks my ass didn't afterwards say, "Hey, do you want to go in a corner and I'll show you how I did it? Yeah, come to my gym." Like I've had an entire women's team beat me to a pulp and then say, "Do you want to go out for drinks and we'll have a chat?" Yeah, and I think maybe for men, I don't know if that necessarily crosses over, if there's a weird aggression versus what they perceive as softness. But even when we went, we took a teammate to our first competition at Grappling Industries and we had such a good interaction with the gym from Brixton that afterwards immediately we were like, we should go there open, Matt, really. So, and I'm also thinking about that sometimes it falls to women, I think, sometimes to also take over white belts that come into the gym. And I don't know if it's a case of men just don't have the patience or it's like, well, you'll be nice, you're soft, you're patient. But it's also not necessarily a bad thing because I'm going to shout, and I want everyone to shout on the people they remember too. Marley and Joy, Osogami Martial Arts of Philadelphia, who took the time and patience to find a brand new female white belt and work with them until they realized, like, you're in. And you can do it now. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be doing it 6-7 years later. So I still remember those people and the time they took. And it took 2 women to really be like, no, stay with us.
I've got a bit of a different experience, you know, with jiu-jitsu and with boxing and MMA. I think if a woman comes from a gym where there's already a female community, they're more inclined to take you in. Or as a competitor, they're more inclined to befriend you afterwards. But I have had many experience where I've turned up to a gym to spar or train with women and I have felt uncomfortable because when there's so few of you, it's like crabs in a barrel. You're trying to make your way to the top and in order to do that, you have to hold the others down. So I've only experienced it better as I've gone through the ranks. As a higher belt now, maybe there's an element of respect or I have no idea what it is. But now, or maybe actually the community's evolved and developed. Hopefully it's that. But yeah, for a long time, I've even been to women-only open mats and I felt so alone, like really uncomfortable. And I hope that changes. Again, another reason why we did this is because I've not had great experiences at women's open mats personally. I've felt quite uncomfortable anyway. So yeah, you'll go.
Yeah, I've had a really mixed bag of experiences as well. And that's like something that me and Mills talk about all the time is trying to, I don't know if it's like an actual exclusivity or at least a perceived exclusivity of sometimes like, especially as someone who is literally just a hobbyist and I just do this because I enjoy it. It's not my main hustle. Muay Thai is. How many more times can I say
it again?
Anyone know? Anyone? Muay Thai? But sometimes certain women-only spaces, and this probably transcends just jiu-jitsu, but obviously we're talking about jiu-jitsu, can feel a little bit exclusive or a bit like a club that I'm not in sometimes. Yeah. And not always. I've had equally great experiences as well, but that kind of perception or experience that I know me and Mills have both had at points was something that with our Her Fight Network events that we do, it was like, okay, we want to make this as inclusive and as chill as possible. So it's like the whole point of, yes, it's a competition, it's an interclub, but like the point is not competitiveness because women are pitted against each other a lot in so many different sort of aspects of life, by each other, by men, I think you almost get used to having this sense of competition outside of a literal competition that I do see some women fall into that, and it's a real spectrum. There's some, like, plenty of women that have made me feel super comfortable as well, but I do think to myself about that a lot. Why does that exist? And I don't know, has anyone else ever experienced that? I think that's one we don't want to talk about a lot of the time as a community. We try and kind of like push it to the side, but it is a reality.
So I think this is actually super important to talk about because I will definitely be doing shout outs because there have been amazing women who have had that camaraderie and that connection that, again, men can't necessarily understand. But I think it's so important to discuss this underbelly that you've picked up because I have had the exact same experiences. And I do think there's a level of almost tall poppy syndrome where it's tall poppy syndrome. Essentially, when it's like I've had my good luck, you know, you're all right, Jack, kind of thing. And I do think there can be, if we're not careful, a level of elitism or exclusivity in either gyms or open mats. I've had the exact same experiences as you ladies have described. And that's actually why I love it here. I found a totally different vibe to some of the other open mats or events I've had because it really is about empowering other women, bringing each other up. We're all here to enjoy the sport, you know, grow as athletes and grow as women. And it's so positive. But I do think that does need to be addressed. I think there needs to be, you know, an honest conversation, a frank conversation about sometimes it can get cliquey in women-only spaces. And
it's because there's not many options. We need as many people to be doing the same thing as us all over the place. Then it's going to be then it'll be more comfortable because it's so normal. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it almost feels like you're in the club or you're out the club. And I think there's a danger because it's great that we have these women's spaces for people to feel safe, but there is a danger of making them feel a bit, oh, okay, this is our space. Yeah. And there's a level of like, you can't sit with us kind of thing. And again, it doesn't always happen because the flip side is wonderful. I mean, look at today. But it's something I think we have to have an honest conversation about. But I mean, like for me, like some shout outs to athletes and gyms, like even at my gym, London Grapple, Fran and Pia, who are so high level and like, Pia will like beat you up. She's an MMA girl. She'll beat you up with a...
Pia Hagen.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
Oh, yeah. She comes here sometimes.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But she's so sick and she's just the sweetest. But, you know, there's a real level of support there. And Fran, who like makes jiu-jitsu beautiful and artistic. It's like a painting. And I even remember when way back when I was a white belt, now is one of my closest friends, like Anesta from Roger Gracie Academy. I remember she's like tall like me. She's like my similar weight. And she adopted me. She was like, because she's a badass judoka MMA girl, and she adopted me and was like, no, you could be with me, you'll be absolutely fine. And I remember feeling so safe with her and feeling so comfortable and like included. And that's what I hope every woman feels, regardless of where they are on their journey, pro, hobbyist, win, lose. Like, I hope they feel that because that is a real powerful thing we can give people.
I think that women in community are unstoppable and they know that. And so we go through this conditioning as we grow up to be pitted against each other as girls, and then growing into women, it's the same. Especially when you're coming into a gym and maybe there's only one other female. That's your direct competition. That's who you measure yourself against. And we've all been in schools or in social situations where girls and women can get really bitchy and really catty at each other. And I think in the beginning of my journey, contributed to that. I trained in a gym where there's one other female and it's like we pretended to be friends, but we hated each other. And rather than learning from each other, and inspiring each other, it was honestly just another way to tear ourselves down. And at some point, God knows when, I think I just decided that there's enough keeping us apart as women, especially in male-dominated sports, and that how I feel or think, what I think of another woman is a reflection of what I think of myself, and it's projecting my own insecurities, and instead that can be used as inspiration. Something someone else is good at or something another woman is good at is a hole in my game I can work on, and that is a woman I can learn from. And I think, I mean, that's where they burn the witches, you know? Like, when we all get together and we start sharing, well, do you know what I mean? Like, this is historical. This isn't new. Like, we don't gathering.
But you know what? Fellas do it too. I've got a couple of guys in my gym that they're the closest in weight out of everybody in the gym. They just batter each other. And I keep saying to them, help each other.
Help each other.
Yeah.
Help each other.
Yeah.
I think
because there's less women, it is way more like...
And I think women in numbers is strength, and that is not something that benefits our patriarchal society, and that filters into our corner of the world, which is martial arts.
Yeah.
This is annoying. We've been doing it for history.
Oh my goodness.
You need to learn.
Goodness.
Yeah, again, I agree, guys. I've been to quite a few gyms, a bit like smoking or something. Quite a few gyms in my lifetime, and I've experienced that directly to me, where you feel that you go there and you're like, hey, how you doing? But then as soon as the clap happens, boom, everyone disappears. And you're the only one with your hand up. And then and sometimes some girls even go with guys knowing that you're new or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So yeah, I've definitely witnessed that more than once. And again, I think it's a ladies thing. It's a girl thing as well. Dare I say it? It's a bitchy thing. Women are bitchy. And, say it how it is. But what I can say is there's loads of places where I've been and it's been phenomenal. And again, today has been awesome, ladies. Awesome. Fantastic. But what I actually like doing myself, I love going to camps. And I go to mixed camps and ladies-only camps. And there's one particular one I go to, and it's going to be the 4th year in a row I'm going. There, the community is phenomenal. You're talking 60 ladies. Everyone gets on.
Can you name up the camp so we can...
Hell to the yeah. Please come along, guys. If there's any availability, cauliflower camp. It is, badass. It's badass. I've been since day one, and it's the 4th year now, and I love it. Everyone knows each other. We got our little group chat, what's been going on for the past 4 years. And then when someone's doing a competition like today, I done this, hey, well done, Chrissie, or whatever. Everyone champions each other. And that's what we definitely need. But you'll get that only in numbers. Because if you're only going to get a small group, like, in a club which only got maybe 2 or 3 ladies, as you guys are saying, competition, or then you get the click factor, which I've had plenty of times. I don't know, maybe it's because of my age, I'm quite mature, even though I act like a kid. But, and you're like, oh, please, really? We're all in the same boat here.
Perhaps the reason Cauliflower Camp works so well is because, I don't know Gammy personally, but everything I've seen of her, she seems like such a delight, like a real nice individual. Yeah. When you see her at competitions, she's always supporting other people, even people she's fighting against, and it just makes you think, if that personality is who's creating the event, inevitably it's going to be like a nice, welcoming event. So maybe, shout out to Gammy. Not that I know her personally, but I do like her fighting.
I think I'm going to push back just a little bit against some of the, it's innately female, because that's what it sounds like it might just be gym cultures, about what is the culture at that gym.
Yeah, but when there's 20 guys in a room, it kind of filters out and you can lose it. You don't have to be face to face with it every single day. You have different people to roll with, you have different people that's going to benefit you. But when, like you guys have said, it's just you and one other woman in the gym, and if you're a competitor and you rely on them and they're not giving you anything, it just stunts.
Oh, I agree, but I just think it's putting a lot of pressure on you to make nice. I feel like it should be also up to the coaches.
For sure.
To say, hey, take care of each other. You're teammates. Yeah. You're here to learn. And I think we're pretty fortunate to have a gym that we only have a few women, so everyone gets on fairly well. But that we have a coach that will text me and say, we've got a brand new female white belt coming into her trial class. Are you coming in for class? Just so I have someone to put her with. Or if someone's being too aggressive, they pull you aside and say, are you okay? Is everything okay at home? Because you're kind of being a dickhead.
But again,
and we've had complaints
But again, 9 times out of 10, the coaches are guys, and if it doesn't affect them directly or affect their male fighters, then they're not really seeing the problem as important as maybe others will.
I think they just often don't see the problem.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's just it's bigger than just us. It's
Do you know what's so weird? I've just realised I've got my own team in Greece, and because me and the only other coach are both women, we've got more women in our classes than we do guys. And I've mentioned the 2 guys that fight each other all the time, and they're like they won't bond. It's because they're the only main guys. It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
You created
I fucked the system.
Actually,
actually, I'm glad you said that because I wanted to push back on the idea that it's just this innately feminine trait, because then I think it makes it push into this space of like, oh, and I know men would love that. Some men would love to say that as well. They'd love to push into this space where it's like, you know, you guys are your own problem. It's all the infighting. It's all of this. I don't agree. I think that there's a perception, and a very real perception with the way that things are at the moment. There is a very limited amount of spots for women to be successful in this sport in terms of, you know, the stages that you're on, in terms of the kind of sponsorship that you can get. It's like, and that doesn't just exist in jiu-jitsu, it exists in so many, again, aspects of life as a woman, that when only a few of you can succeed, I can see how it creates this environment where maybe people aren't consciously aware of it, but subconsciously they don't want to be outdone by other women, because then that's an opportunity that they don't have.
I don't know, you know, because it even happens to hobbyists. It's not everyone that's just a competitor.
I don't think it's just related to sport. I think we go through a conditioning as girls growing up to be insecure. We question our
it all
self-worth.
stems from
It's against each other. This is why you have like girls being told they're bitchy at 8 years old because they can't get on with their friends and they're falling out every other week. Like, I don't think women are bitchy. I think we as girls go through a social conditioning and end up so insecure that we fight against each other, whether that's in a gym or if that's, in any sport or
we're
any
scared to see
realm of
growth
life.
in others.
out in your behaviour.
And when you're only seeing one female match on a card, that logically I'm thinking, okay, that's 2 women. So there's me and this girl in the gym, that's us 2. So like there's not, the representation is also the issue, because if we saw half the card being women, that's not now such a spotlight syndrome where there's
And the cliquiness does exist in guys, I'd say. I've seen it happen I've seen men do the same things in highly competitive environments.
Does it happen in striking sports, or is it just...
Does it
as well?
I think it's framed differently though. If there's 2 guys in the gym that don't get along, nobody would ever be like,
surely they just
because they're boys and boys are bitches.
No, exactly, So I think we need to be very careful about... I think the way that Molly's put it was beautiful, actually, like really good, because the issue is so much more than like, women are just innately bitchy or like want to fight against each other. It's not that. It's so
back. I wasn't born bitchy, and I'm no longer bitchy. Like I've gone through those belief systems and stuff. So I don't think it is that it's women are.
I've worked on building sites. Men are so bitchy. It's not a feminine trait, trust me.
I think wasn't born bitch would be a great t-shirt. We're going to take it to a body question here in a second. We just launched at Carpe Diem, shout. We have a new women's only class taught by Varva, and it was actually the first time I've ever done a women's only class. And there was a moment where something really clicked, where she was talking about protecting your neck. And she said, we're going to do it a little differently because we've got boobs. So forget what you've already been shown in class if it's not been working for you. And in my head, I think this was the first time it ever occurred to me that having a woman's body was not a handicap you have to overcome in jiu-jitsu. It's something that you can actually adapt to. And, it's not something you need to compensate for by learning to be as good as men, even though you don't have that body. You can figure out your own thing. So I was going to say, are there any particular tips or tricks or advice you have on training, or even how jiu-jitsu has impacted your relationship with your body, or recovery advice that's maybe a bit more specific to us, where, it's not just all ice baths all the time? And
do you know what? Can we pass to someone else and I'll think about it?
Anyone got thoughts?
I have many. I'll be honest, I've got a few.
Witches.
As a personal experience in what you're saying about it not being a handicap, being in a woman's body, just as an example, I think I really struggled with applying pressure in a top position in grappling. And it's because I was trying to drive it through just my upper body, I think. And then I was like, I'm so bottom heavy, like I'm bottom thick. Like, let's put that weight there. And just shifting my way of thinking and realising that most of the guys are built like upside down triangles and their weight's on top. I was like, hang on a minute. Maybe I've been doing this wrong this whole time. Like, there's some tricks in here. And something I really noticed within women's grappling is flexibility and our hip mobility, especially if you've got more of a curve at your hips. Like, the internal rotation seems to be so significantly better than the men's that I've watched. Actually, that can be a real advantage, and that's a really nice feeling that you've got a physical advantage in some way. In terms of, like, women's differences with their bodies, like, the best we're doing at the minute is training like just small men. That's the box that we're put into. It's obviously, once again, I'll say it again, it's a male-dominated sport, so everything is set up for the men to thrive, and we are in women's bodies. That makes every bit of difference. And I didn't want to believe that for a really long time. I wanted to do everything like the men and beat the men. And then as soon as I started approaching it differently, I have, one, been in a much better mental and emotional space, and also seeing the performance results. And just really recognising the difference in our hormones. Men have a daily hormone cycle. We have a 28 to 31 day hormone cycle. And from my own experience over the last year of trying to sync some aspects of training to my cycle and becoming my own best coach in that way has been so empowering, because my period doesn't now feel like a barrier. It feels like a blessing, because it's almost like a blueprint and a report card for how I've treated my body, what I need to do. That's the time I optimise my rest the most, but gentle rest, not ice baths, not active recovery, like on the sofa for a couple of days, not training and resting and reflecting on my performance that month, getting really introspective. And then, you know, as we move more into, say, the other phases of follicular and ovulation, where like I'm so confident and I'm so excited for life, and that's when I'm getting my heavy sparring in. That's when I'm booking the comps. I am ovulating, everyone. Just had a really good performance, just like to know. But maybe being brave enough to stand strong in the body that you have, not wish for anything different, and approach your training differently to the men. Because yes, we want equal opportunities, but we do not have to approach those opportunities in the same way the men do. We deserve to find the ways to train and navigate this sport that make us thrive the most, not us just survive the sport because we're in the box of being just small men. Someone take it away from me.
Can I nip in?
Please.
Actually, I don't know if this completely answers the question, but this is what you made me think of. So in my team, we have a class on Fridays that I call Yana and the Deaf Squad. And I created it because the skills that I've learned as a small woman, 99% of the time, I'm the smallest girl in the room, let alone girl. And I've built up skills that, okay, they're illegal. Okay, I get it. But what I've noticed is a lot of the illegal submissions, wrist locks, bicep slices, calf slices, all of these things, they work so well for women. So, yeah, so my class on a Friday, essentially, what I've noticed is the girls get on with the techniques a lot better than the boys get on with it. It's like the one day a week, the guys are like, I can't do anything. But all the girls are like wrist locking everyone. I'm like, yes, you go, girl. But I don't know how it fully fits into the answer, but I think we should allow a rule set that better works for a female body. That's my answer.
That's actually brilliant.
Should always be about like takedowns and fucking like top pressure.
Exactly. Thank you. Like sometimes you've got to use witchcraft. Like there's a reason why I love heel hooks. Like it's just like I'm not going to be able to, do top pressure on someone who's like 110 kilos. I can break their knee, but I completely agree. And it's astonishing as well to see this rhetoric. So like following on from what Molly said, she's so right about proper rest. And I don't know if David Goggins started this pattern. And I don't know, like, it's quite, again, it must be super cringe for you as strikers when you see like jiu-jitsu guys treat jiu-jitsu as like proper fighting. You must cringe a little bit inside. You must be like, okay, yeah.
We don't really talk about it.
But the way they are like, I'm in the trenches, I'm in the war, grind, like hustle, no rest days. And actually, at least from a cognitive psychology perspective, it's terrible for learning. You need to, basically our brains like to form internal frameworks of the world around us. It's kind of how we make sense of things. There's the environment around us, but we need to take that information and basically our brain goes beep, 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 and tries to make sense of it all. And it creates like a model or framework, like a blueprint, literally like a blueprint. And the same when we're learning complex moves and motor learning skills. You can't batter yourself every single day and expect to be introspective about a pattern of movement or a sequence. You need to actually reflect on and make those frameworks in your head about what works, what doesn't work. And to do that, you need to be off the mats, or at least not sparring super hard all the time, every single day. So I think this idea of, if you're not training every day really hard, you're not working hard enough, especially, of course, even if you're a pro athlete, you're going to have something periodized or programmed to incorporate rest. The same ways in which when you lift weights, you actually grow your muscles at rest in between training. You will be able to process and learn things on your days when you're not sparring, when you're not always doing drills. And that's so important. Like, people think rest is like, oh, I'm being lazy. It's part of your training. It's how you factor it in.
I've actually noticed the times that I've injured myself and I've come back onto the mats or back into the ring. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I'm all right at this.
Yeah. Genuinely. And I think hopefully the pandemic, as horrible as it was, I would not do that again. But when people came back, were like, oh, actually, I haven't forgotten all my jiu-jitsu. I appreciated it as well, because I think we can go into almost like health spirals of, oh my God, I haven't trained in 2 days. I'm awful, I'm rubbish, I'm off the mats. And it's just not true, but it's that anxiety of, oh, I need to be there, I need to be that. It's that form of rumination. And actually to step back and, challenge those negative thoughts, thinking, is that true? Will I forget everything? Actually, will rest also help me be a better athlete, because I can be going through habits and hobbies that attribute to my personal values beyond jiu-jitsu. So when I come back to the mat, I feel refreshed. Loads of things people, I think, overlook for recovery. Recovery is sitting down on the sofa. It's chilling, it's relaxing. And it's also, remembering you're a human being as well as an athlete, that you are not just your mat performance or being on the mats. You have to look after yourself. You have to fill your own cup if you want to perform on the mats.
If I can just add on to that as well. Just, you mentioned David Goggins and we're talking about performance. No, it's a really good point, because we seem to blend or blur the line between who's really good at suffering with a smile on their face and who's good at performing. And actually, yes.
Really British culture.
And actually, like, you know what, like, guys, boys, men, you want to do it that way, that's fair enough. You do you, right? But I just feel like making myself suffer in extra ways is not going to add to my performance. Like, I'm not a robot.
Life is already hard. Why
I'm flex, isn't it, really?
A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter.
7 days a week this week, so I must be better than you.
Yeah, and I just feel like, why is the goal not to perform our best, and not at the cost of our health and well-being, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, social. Like, it's performance, right? And it's health and happiness as human beings. Like, why is that not the focus? Like, that makes no sense.
Toxic masculinity of our coaches.
God damn it. Yeah, we are.
The only thing I'll add to that is weight cutting. If you go to men's gym, weight cutting is heavily encouraged. Yeah. And then you weight cut, and then you realise, I've weight cut and now I'm fighting worse than I've ever fought before because I'm so tired.
And I don't have a period.
My head hurts constantly and I can't focus. And then I think, but then sometimes maybe it has the opposite effect, is then you learn to embrace your body and think, actually, I want to fight at a weight where I feel strong, not where I feel skinny, because it doesn't.
I've turned up to a promotion and grabbed the promoter straight off and said, I am half a kilo out. This was for a title fight. I'm half a kilo out. And like we've called it, I'm not cutting anymore. I was still breastfeeding. And I said, there isn't enough science around the impacts of cutting weight and breastfeeding and hormonal thing. I'm not doing any more than this. I'd already pushed myself further than I should have. And his response was, well, I feel like your opponent would like you to at least try. And I said, I don't see my opponent with any children, first off. And second off, I'm not in a male's body. Like, I don't think you can tell me what the levels are here and what, like, I'm letting you know, safety-wise, I'm not doing any more. It's really frustrating. And so...
It's good that you gave him your perspective, though, because a lot of people don't. They
just honestly, do what they're told. I would say that took more courage to say that out loud than to get in the cage and fight the next day, because it is really scary to use your voice in this sport, especially when you're bringing up the differences, because...
Especially when you're seen as disposable as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like you never got to hold that, and you definitely wanted to say something.
That's okay, Beebs. My perspective, for me personally, is that I take every day as a different day. I have to remind myself, I'm not competing against an adult. I'm not competing against a lower master. I'm master 5. And so it's really hard when you go to the gym, whether you're just training generally or in a competition, to get swayed in it all with everyone going berserk. And, the majority of them are adults. Yeah. And I have to remind myself, Chris, your body is this age. It's not 20, 30 years their age, younger, right? And so I pace myself all the time. So when it comes to, if I'm, like for this competition, I strategically said, my last training is going to be on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, I'm just going to chill out. I don't smoke, but, have a spliff and take it easy. Absolutely. Have a sauna and all that jazz. And enjoy the sun. Enjoy the sun, right? Absolutely. Even if other people may say, oh, you should do this and do that, or you see other people on Instagram constantly training right to the last minute. I'm like, Chris, you can't do this, man. Listen to your body. In the mornings, when I do my exercises, I hear it crack continually. When I'm on the mat, I hear it crack continually. And people go, oh, you okay, Chris? It's me. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little crack, And I don't know whether that's right or wrong. Yeah. I don't know. Exactly. I have no idea, although I have got a dodgy knee the past couple of weeks, but that's totally separate. But yeah, I try and just to listen to what my body is saying. Chris, you can do 5 days this week. Chris, you can do only 2. Chris, you can do 7.
Does that take a lot of self-control if everyone else in the gym is going at this mad rate?
Yeah, 100%. It really does.
Can I just say that you listening to your body as a woman is an act of rebellion, and you should be really proud of yourself for doing that and reminding yourself where you are and that your health is more important, because that is so hard to do.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we could probably learn from your wisdom with what you said there. I'm definitely going to listen to those cracks. Rest or not.
I actually, really, what you said there, this happened to me like a couple of weeks ago. It's so funny. I just rolled with a really, really awesome athlete at the other gym I'm at, Los Banditos. And she's a black belt. She smashed me all the time. She's brilliant. She's really, really sweet. And we were in the corner and we were watching. It was the end of the class. It was about 2 hours in. And we were watching these 17, 18-year-olds going at it.
But Los Banditos has a reputation for being the highlight reel gym.
Well, and so we were watching, and we had just been talking about why we love bread makers. We're here. We were like, I was like, oh, I love a good bread maker. We're talking about our bread makers, and then I was like watching me, like, damn, I want what they had for breakfast. And she just goes to me, what, youth? And I was like, yes, I want to be 17 again. And do you have to do that? Because it's, they can do that. Yeah, of course
what they've had for breakfast is testosterone.
Exactly. So, it's different, and that's okay. That's okay. And I think that's why comparing ourselves with other people, and other women especially, it's the biggest waste of time, because you are on your own journey and you have your own barriers and comeuppances. My goodness, I can't. Tongue-tied in life. And I think the most important thing is not to be like, yeah, I smashed it, but to meet yourself where you're at and just get a little bit better for where you're at. And that can be, twice a week, sometimes 5 times a week. Sometimes it's just stepping on the mat and watching. It totally depends. It's just about seeing where you're at, seeing what's going on in your life and, getting a little bit better, but not torturing yourself over it.